And we are live here on Plus One EXP's Roll for Content channel. Hey, Ben. How's it going? Good to see you. Today we are questing. Backer Quest is a series we do here on the channel where we look at some of the latest and greatest games that are launching live on Kickstarter, on itch, in web stores. We try to cover games we haven't covered already. Sometimes we'll cover a game when it's digital and then when it releases again physically, or we'll remind people about games that we love that just haven't funded yet or in their final stages of funding. With that, right off the top, 3 projects I would love to have you check out if you have not yet. A Bug's Guide to Shimmer. This is a follow-up from a successful Zine Quest project that was adapting The Shimmer for Troika. It's by our good friend Chris over at Tabletop Tentacles. It's an awesome project. It's in its last couple of hours. If you haven't checked it out yet, go check it out. Chris's art is absolutely gorgeous. I was thrilled to look at this. Look at this. He's calling it a fortis, not a fortal. His own rendition of the Fortal, but just killer art, great idea on how to expand and grow a universe. He didn't know a lot about Troika, so he just gave it to a couple of friends to fill out, but it's in its last couple of hours. Go check that out. Also, Possible Worlds, the Kickstarter. If you go to ttrpg.link/PW, you can go check out my friend Tyler's great project. We played one of the 6 games that are part of this set last Friday. These are all in their last stages of funding. We've talked about them before, but it's 6 games released digitally over 6 months. But then if you back at the physical level, which is $50, you get all 5 games sent to you in a beautiful box at the end. And then the last one we've already covered, but our friend Adam Voss also gave a shout out to, and I wanted to follow up. If you haven't checked out Fly Softly, a solar punk game about butterfly hybrids sowing the future of hope. It's a really cool game also. That said, we've already talked about some of these games. We're going to talk about some new games today from both Kickstarter and from itch. Some games I'm really excited about. Also, just FYI, if you are watching on Twitch right now and you type in ! Oh, what did I set it at? What did I set the giveaway at? We've got a giveaway. I should open that giveaway. I'll just tell you, Gondo me. If you type in ! Gondo me in the chat, you'll get a chance to win a copy of Paris Gondo's life-saving what is it? Guide, Paris Gondo Guide, the life-saving guide to the magic of inventorying. You can win a copy of that if you type in Gondo me, and a digital copy of that if you're watching us over on Twitch. They are our sponsors this time. We give away free itch projects every time we do backer quest, usually something that is launched recently. We've already talked a little bit about it, but it's a awesome inventory management game that is a riff on a mainstream household and possession inventory management system that was proposed also. So if you want to get that, type in ! Gondo. But these are the top games right now on Twitch. We're going to cover on itch. We're going to cover a couple of those as we go through. If you heard us on the way in, we were listening to some music from Make Happy. Make Happy is also a copy of Troika Fest. For full transparency, I did not know I was going to get a free copy of this game until the creator today sent me a free copy of this game, but it was already on my list to cover whenever it dropped. This is Eric K. Hill's Troika Fest entry rather. It's how to make Harmony happy. The players have a very important meeting to attend at the Castle Swoon. The only problem is that Harmony, the sentient gate, is very, very sad. Their frown is making it impossible for them to open. No one can get in or out of the castle, which is a problem for Swoon's blooming franchising businesses. Having artificial workers is cheap. The success with Harmony instead of real lifeguards with salaries turns out great. Swoon offloaded workers to replace with an artificial workforce, and while the previous employees sought their fortune on other islands. So the gate's just lonely. You can see here, there's a couple of just layout samples, really great. Simple art from Eric, but I just love the cuteness. I think Eric does some of the most, without a doubt, adorable projects that come out. Did Endless Banquets for Zine Quest, a lot of other great projects also too. Just really great stuff just came out. So that music we were listening to on the way in. Also, I love the customized Fortals for Troika this month. This Fortal needs some help. So help cheer up this Fortal by going and checking out this great project. It's Make Harmony. Happy a reunion romp for Troika. It's a great little mission for you guys to be able to go on. It's $5 right now, and there will be a community copy for every purchase that is purchased. So go out there and make sure that other people can access games also. Great team helped out with this one. By the way, this is going to be a slightly longer than normal episode. Actually, maybe not, because we started like 15 minutes late because Streamlabs needed me to reauthorize like a million things. But we're going to go a little bit past 4 o'clock because we have some of our friends who are working on the Postcards from Cable Street project who are going to join us at the end to talk about that project specifically. So stick around if you can. This has been Make Happy. It's live right now over on itch. You can go to the link if you're watching on YouTube in the description or on Facebook. But it's silverhooves.itch.io for Eric's main page. Another great person who we absolutely love, we featured a lot of their projects before, we'll always feature their projects, is Philip Reed. Philip Reed teaches me so much just from engaging in the projects, but Phil is also incredibly generous with time and input for other people who are doing work in the TTRPG space. This is Fantasy City Sites and Scenes 3 for use with any fantasy RPG. It's a guide for game masters, includes 16 different fantasy city locations, each ready to drop into your campaign. Phil's just the master of doing it. This is Phil's second project this month, by the way. So he did one for Troika Fest. It was a music project. And then it's called Purple Bonbon. And then is doing Fantasy City Sites and Scenes number 3. Uses a lot of public domain art. Every once in a while will have somebody commission a piece specifically. It'll probably be about this size. That's how much the rest of them come in, an 8.5 by 11 book. Just absolutely well laid out. If you are looking for places to drop in your fantasy cities and want some interesting places that are really well fleshed out, this is an absolutely great resource. For those, you can get it through print POD, through Drive-Thru RPG if you're in the UK or Europe, or you can order a printed copy here in the US. Also, if you missed any of Phil's past projects, the Outdoor Encounter cards, Callow's Book of Monsters, Strange Citizen Zines, any of the past stuff Phil's done, you can also get those on this campaign also too. I'd highly encourage you to go check it out. Anytime Phil does a project, it's worth watching the choices he's making to see what you want to do on your own. Into the Black by our friend Nick Masek, who is also Monkey Paw Games up in Canada. It's a pink hack. It's a pink hack game system. So you don't remember signing the contract, but the company owns you now, body and soul. You have a debt and they're coming to collect. Whatever you were before, this is your purpose now. Finding a way to keep the creditors at bay and finding a way to get into the black. Into the Black is a sci-fi adventure game using the pink hack system, somewhat of a personal love letter to the Mass Effect franchise. Into the Black is a picturesque adventure game where the players must navigate and explore a strange and wondrous galaxy while deeply indebted to an interstellar corporation. Life Among the Stars is then about treading the razor's edge of struggling for survival and finding joy and love where one can. This is an Ashcan edition currently, so it needs a lot of edit. It needs a lot of other stuff. But Nick had churned this out over the course of a weekend tinkering with the pink hack system, which is a blend of Jared Sinclair's vanilla game and Christian Mainstrom's white hack and Chris McDowell's Into the Odd. So I looked around to see if I could find the core pink hack stuff online. I can't. It's one of the big questions I have from Nick because I am very excited about this. I would love to see some of like the core pink hack stuff, or is this pink hack like core also too? But you get a series of tools for play, a lightweight 3-stat-3 class OSR system, randomized character setup, 50 creatures to encounter on your interstellar journey, miscellaneous section with ancient data disks, clothes, drugs, corporations, space pirates, drop die based mapping system, which I love, a list of desirable goods to barter, powerful telepathic abilities and technological wonders, rules for starship combat, and art by the fabulous Evelyn Monroe and Matt Winkleman. Nick's just putting out really great stuff, has been doing some itch funding recently, saw this project pop up, looked at it, loved the name Into the Black mixed with, like, which is a very heavy sounding thing. I love Mass Effect as a system. And so I love seeing all of that get woven into this project, which is just super friendly and approachable by its look and color palette, but has some of these heavier scenes. So I'm really interested to see what Nick does with this, and would love to get it to the table sometime soon. So that's Into the Black. Orbital Blues. Let's check out the video on this. We're going to give it about a minute. I will say this, like listening on my speakers here in my office, the audio bouncing on this video is incredibly good. I don't know what it's going to sound like exactly for y'all. I know you'll be able to hear it, but I don't know what you're listening on. But let's give it a listen. There's some cool stuff here.
Sense the real meaning behind the word freedom.
It's much cheaper to haul the materials from the lunar surface than it is to bring things up from the Earth because of the difference of gravities.
The psychological effects of the shotgun and the wallop it packs have helped in many captures.
Only a few years ago were science fiction are today becoming science fact.
Like using this kind of found footage feel, and it probably won't translate because it's probably getting mediated through mine, but like some of the announcements are left side, some of the announcements are right side. It's balanced in a very interesting way. It's just very cool. Yeah, so it's a great place to pause also. So this is a blues-infused space Western role-playing game with accompanying cassette EP. Very excited about this project. Have been. Done a little of the quick start a little while ago. The rock and roll future that never was and nobody wanted. It's an intergalactic age of cowboys, outlaws, and bandits playing on an interstellar stage. It's a time of hyper-capitalism and cutthroat gig economy. Unreliable trash heaps carry scrappy underdogs to their next gig, and corporation freighters lumber across the horizon, laden with the Empire's bounty. The back streets of every terraformed metropolis brim with 1,000 lonely hearts and thousands more venial vendettas. The burnt-out wastelands between bright lights are lawless bat countries, anachronistic America languishing beneath multiple moons, madness in every direction at every solar hour. These are the music-fueled moon age dreams of rebel space age. These are your Orbital Blues. It's like just every piece of art, every little bit of this game, the way it's set up, this long scroll is just really gorgeous, just from its conceit. The music kind of on the front end, I mention it because there's a lot happening here with the type of vibes you're looking for, and I'm really excited to see they're including an EP cassette, which if you can see is the level I've backed at. I want the book plus the cassette. It laid it all out there. There's a rules light system. Touchstones are Cowboy Bebop, Firefly, Guardians of the Galaxy. Chris Bessette, who's a good internet buddy of mine, is doing the music for the EP. Chris is a phenomenal musician and designer who does a lot of really great stuff in this vein. I love the color play here. I love everything about this. I love this retro futurism that it's playing in. It's a lot of really cool stuff and a really interesting take on the Cowboy Bebop space cowboy often. Hey Zach, how's it going? Really some really cool touchstones and other pieces in here that I'm just really excited to be able to get my hands around. But I actually I am kind of most excited to see what is the soundtrack that accompanies a project like this. And I love, like, there's been a lot of commentary on this recently, and it's probably worth pulling some people in who do Dungeons specifically to talk about. But we're seeing more and more projects do soundtrack work or do cassettes or EPs. And it's really interesting that we've become a little bit obsessed with outmoded means of playing them. Like, I went and bought a cassette player and record player to put over there, and I went and bought the cables to connect them to my computer because I want to be able to, on stream, share these things with you and be able to take them. But to be able to take it from, like, it's easier for me to buy a record right now or a cassette than it is to me to buy a CD, but it matches the feel of this so well. And a lot of times people are using a medium to match the feel. And I'm just super interested by that and very excited by the amount of craft that goes into it. Like, I should probably just do a couple of jam sessions where we just hop on and listen to some of the cool music that's been coming out for some of these stuff, because I have the setup now where we can do it. But just consistently gorgeous stuff. This is a Soul Muppet Publishing, like does phenomenal stuff. The Better Left Buried system, just really, really amazing looking things. We've got the mock-up here of the cassette. It's a weird bit of space. Is there a secret here? I don't know. Maybe it's coming soon. We've got some extra people. Mamado's is coming in as a contributor on this. We've got just some really amazing things that are coming up in this project, and it couldn't be more gorgeous. And I'm really excited to see this kind of bluesy, retro-futuristic take on the space western genre. And so I hope you've gone and checked this one out already. If you haven't, please do. I would highly encourage it. Spiral Dice. Spiral Dice is live right now. It's got about 2 weeks left. It's about halfway through its campaign. It's a simple dice that drive complex and unexpected narratives in RPGs. Spiral Dice is a simple, it just said the same exact thing. It's a hackable, system agnostic, and pleasant to roll. It's one set of 6 dice that will serve the whole gaming table with the Sapio generic game system, which is built to use the dice and draws inspiration from Fate, powered by the Apocalypse systems, Genesis, and a couple other pieces. Through Spiral Dice Hacker's Guide, game designers and game masters will have all the information they need to leverage the storytelling power of Spiral Dice in their design. So I've been following John's work on the Spiral Dice campaign. It's John's first project to make, has backed a few others, but it's a really interesting concept. Like, more and more I'm seeing designers start to mess with the physical materials we're playing the games with. And sure, there's just custom dice are not new. We have a lot of systems out there that use customized dice to help with this. And this definitely has some familiarity to that. But taking that and then building the system around the physical mechanic you want. It's what with Repugnant, we had the theme, but we really built the play mechanics out around the heap, around the D2 covered in shit system we were making. I'm loving seeing designers take physical items and then build their game concepts around those physical items. I want to do a hex crawl where there's kind of a rune casting piece where you're actually drawing the hexes out of a bag and kind of throwing them on the table to see what you come up with, and then arranging those in a travel piece. I want to see, this one came from the Brain Trust 100%, but I'd love to see somebody do a game that is just all done on convention badges and lanyards, where your role is something you wear around your neck and gives you abilities. I love people who take an item and turn the item into the game. And dice, obviously, it's very easy to think about doing that with. The project is already funded. It's getting close to double funded. We're going to be playing this game live, actually, on Friday night with John, the creator. If you want to come back over and join us for that, absolutely do. And we'll have a couple giveaway copies of this up in the future. But I love the art on this project. I've seen a number of art pieces on this project. They're all wonderful. We're going to be playing this like saving New York City setting where zombies are attacking, which is where a lot of this art is from. But you could do a fantasy world. You could do a lot of different stuff. And so the fact that it's also not saying that the dice are the system or the system are the dice, but it's two things that they are launching. And they're absolutely gorgeous. I love some of these different pieces that we're seeing here. I'm going to get a chance to check this out on Friday. If you want to come back and check it out with us, I'd highly encourage you. But if you haven't gone to check out Spiral Dice and the Sapio system, I would highly encourage you to go check it out. I do wish there had been a video with this. I think there's a lot of text on this page. It's all very good. It's all broken up by great images. There's more information other places. John has done a great job with linking out. I would love to have seen a little bit more of this system in action at the launch. I also know John ran up on this really quick. This was a quick conception to product development to release process with a very small number of followers ahead of time. John put out a little bit on itch, got a little bit of money there, saw a little bit of excitement, and then just immediately capitalized on that into a very successful Kickstarter campaign. And I'm so excited to see John's success in this. And so please check it out. If you haven't yet, make sure you type in !Gondo me. !Gondo me if you're watching on Twitch and following us right now. Go ahead and type in !Gondo me to win a copy of Paris Gondo's The Life-Saving Magic of Inventory Management. It is an absolutely fun inventory management game. We're giving away a free copy today here on stream. And you should absolutely go ahead and type in !Gondo me if you want to win that. And you can also go check it out at ttrpg.link /parisgondo if you are interested in that. But it's a simple and effective play-based method to banish encumbrance forever. Essentially, you're in a dungeon and you create the loot from whatever you've just harvested. You could also just throw this into a game that you're playing, and people have to go through and manage their inventory before they can leave the dungeon, deciding what they're going to take with them, what they may want to trade to somebody else or give to somebody else, or what they're just simply going to leave behind. It's an absolutely clever cultural commentary. They're raising money right now to be able to add more art to the book, to be able to do a couple other things, but there's great examples of play in the entire guide. I'd highly encourage you to check that out. And if you type in !Gondo me, you can win a copy of that. Also, if you haven't yet, you can go get a copy of our game. We are itch funding right now. We've currently raised about $400 towards our actual goal. Actually, yeah, 400. For some reason, this tracker doesn't want to track everything we're doing. This is bringing Academy to Troika. If you are interested in the work we did with that, you can go to ttrpg.link /divine sub to get a copy of that, or I'm going to drop the link in to Twitch right now. But we are itch funding this. We've got a couple weeks left to go on it. We also did have a online seller express interest in like 50 copies, so we'll be certainly printing this no matter what. But the game's getting bigger and bigger. We're in the middle of adding 6 new Troika backgrounds. We have D66 potions in there. We're adding in some extra procedures around making alchemical enchantments, as well as field alchemy and some other stuff like that. But you can see a couple of the sample pages, other pieces like that. It's Troika compatible, but good for any OSR RPG or any other fantasy RPG also too. That's our sponsor break. Check out all that great stuff. Let's hop back to some of the other cool projects. I have been talking to the creators of this project. We couldn't nail down a time to have them come on stream. I really need to follow back around one more time to see if we can make it happen in the next 20 days. But this is Archelon Chronicles. It's a sci-fi fantasy RPG. Heavy focus on combat, but also heavy focus on making customizable characters and keeping action fluid and moving. Let's watch the video together real quick. All right, awesome short video. In about 20. Awesome short video, excellent, 34 seconds, crisp, clear, phenomenal right off the bat. So we've got some first-time creators. It's a new studio, but they've already gone online and backed a lot of other projects, engaging in the community. John is the lead author on this. It's some people in Quebec, and I think there's actually a number of Polish contributors to this, but I could be wrong. It's a world of progress, heroes, and incredible diversity. Following the discovery of an old alien ruin in the frozen waste of the North, technology jumped hundreds of years into the future in a very short time frame, allowing the many inhabitants of Archelon to explore their vast and intricate world. In the wake of this incredible discovery, more primal races struggled to find their place in this new world. Their spirituality and way of life challenged by new technologies, while others thrived due to these new opportunities. The Archelon Chronicles role-playing game is a cooperative storytelling game in which a game master acts as narrator, the players act as participant, and the characters are directly involved in the ever-changing universe. They really did design this just from quick conversations with them around, again, like I said, highly customizable characters and abilities, combat being a major focus, but customization and diversity at a high end. A lot of, I think, video game touchstones and the way that it feels. When describing the games, we want players to allow players and creatures to react to their environments, allies, and enemies, even when it's not their turn, to keep everyone engaged at all times, which is a huge challenge around the table. Customization and diversity were a huge thing, and they wanted to bring science fiction and fantasy together, which I think we can tell from the art, right? There's a lot of this desire to bring in some classic fantasy tropes and give them that kind of science fantasy feel. Uses polyhedral dice. We've got some playable races: arcane golems, dragonkin, dwarves, elves, humans, and then a bunch of non-standard races that have kind of subjections. We've got lizard people. We've got some orcs. We've got shardlings. Different both familiar races, but also some completely new stuff. Beautiful book, big ambitious project right out the gate. Good layout, like solid information design. Good pieces. I really would love to get a sense of this. I really like some of the parts of the layout on this character sheet. I think are really intuitive. Big long list like this, and I'm a GURPS player. This is kind of weird. Like from way back, big long lists on the sheet are always challenging for me. And I mean, if everybody can do everything, that's fine. I'd really like to see that more as some stat based with skills giving advantage than I do to have everything listed all over the place. It just keeps the sheets a little bit tighter. I don't know. That's just a personal preference. I'm also sure that there will always be kind of small finesses and changes as we go through. But again, that same thing, big focus on combat visible on the sheet also too. Here are the classes. But again, there's also some real solid like video game touchstones in this also too that I just think are really interesting. Would love to get to the table. And again, this great thing, like, so they're talking about representative play. It's really designed to help people feel inclusive and grab diversity. But what if I'm not a minority? We'll let you in on a secret. You don't have to be one to enjoy this game. This game includes rules and approaches that encourage marginalized people to feel safe at the game table, have them to be able to play who they want to play. This does not have or stop non-minority people from enjoying the game or delving deep into the universe. Inclusion doesn't stop at minorities, and characters from all backgrounds are included in the illustrations. They've got an art book and some other stuff to go with it. Like I said, ambitious first project. Some good levels. Cyber Warriors Digital Database Archivist brings you up to the physical level. It's about $30 for US. You've got the Rookie Hero. This you get kind of just some additional stuff, as well as you help provide some things for the community. Also, Shop Owner is for people who want it for their store, and Librarian is for people who want everything. Collector has got some extra tchotchkes in it, and then the Veteran Hero at a super high level, you're going to get a lot of engagement from the authors. Really well done. Price point feels about right, probably actually a little low. Not to the point where I would worry about them being able to fulfill, but just a little bit lower than I would have expected given what you're getting. It's a really solid, good value. Here's another one that I've seen a lot about online. Haven't had a chance to talk to it. They did reach out to me to see if I had space for an interview or a feature, but I wanted to make sure we tossed it on to back request today at least. We got an anime-inspired tabletop RPG for the Triforce image and expansion of the Cardine Jungle that can play standalone. Let's check out the video. Hey,
this is Chance from NorCal Mythos Entertainment. I want to talk to you today about Lockdown, our upcoming anime-inspired tabletop role-playing game that's heading straight to Kickstarter. With all of our games, we really try to make it to where you can be what you want to be. You can start off with a character and you can advance in any direction that you want, and that you can have fun with it. And anime has so many amazing worlds and stories in it. Whether shonen or mecha or others, you got so many great stories out there that we've enjoyed for years. And when we built Lockdown, we really wanted to make a game where you could really dive into these worlds and tell stories and make characters that are really your own. Lockdown is designed as a sci-fantasy system, which means you don't really have limits on it. You can make any style of game that you want, whether sci-fi or fantasy or something in between. Lockdown can do all of it. On top of that, we also added rules if you want to go through and focus in on shonen aspects or mecha aspects or cosmic horror, or maybe some cyberpunk. You can design the system and have rules that will help you to play the game that you want.
All right. It's interesting how I feel like for a lot of people, science fantasy has become a catch-all phrase that we traditionally would have just said like, oh, it's genreless. Like it doesn't have a genre. But instead we've created some like genre blending words that kind of signify some of the same things. There's also been some interesting conversations online lately about anime as a type of game or as a method of as a genre or theme, or as a way that genres are presented. Basically saying like anime is not a thing, it is a number of things. And I think this system or this video kind of explores and embraces that. There's mech pieces, there's shonen pieces, there's other pieces that you can pull in, take out to kind of say, hey, we wanted things that were in that anime range, but we wanted to create space that you could really customize it based on what specifically you were trying to do within the anime type of storytelling you were doing. I don't know if you have thoughts on that. Let me know in the chat wherever you're watching. It's been a big conversation in the last couple of weeks that I've seen in a few different places, but do you think anime is a genre? Do you think it's not a genre, but it's a mode of storytelling? What are your thoughts on that? Lockdown has begun. Lockdown is an anime-inspired tabletop role-playing game from NorCal Mythos. I'm not familiar with NorCal before this, but they've been awesome and really engaging over the course of the last couple of weeks, sharing stuff out, talking about this game, talking about other people's stuff. But you can bring in bombastic conflicts, colorful atmosphere, magical heroes, and amazing worlds found in the best anime, while also crafting your own deep and well-versed characters, or just go with the tormented edgelord or nerdy, shy yet charming high schooler with a destiny, and then inhabit them. You can check it out free for now. They've got a 180-page preview edition, which is a huge preview edition. We'll pop that open in just a second and see if we can take a look at it. The Luminous Dawn. When calamity struck, the Luminous Dawn settlement fleet was in mid-transit to an uninhabited world. Past the edges of the Neospine space, controls failed, life support systems faltered, and in short, the 100,000 inhabitants of the escaping fleet were destined to die. Through frantic effort, onboard engines managed to repair basic life support systems, and now the fleeing fleet's crews and their families enter into stasis chamber, hoping to sleep out the danger. What quickly became clear is that Admiral Locke was that there would be no rescue. After the calamity, there was no ship in the Empire, perhaps even the entire galaxy, that could find them, so they slept without dreams. Keanu Locke guided the fleet through the void of space to the most only the most basic gravitational controls, completely alone, without hope. The alarms blared, stasis ended, the crews and their families slowly awoke to find their vessel had crashed on a strange alien world. The only message from Admiral Locke, a call for hope, a plea for determination, and an inspiring farewell. He placed the ship on the best course he could towards an inhabitable world that they would not reach for over 2,000 years. They found Locke's ancient mummified corpse still at the controls and gave him a burial on the planet that he had died getting them to. It's interesting to go from genreless open to heavy story. Now, I'm assuming there's a difference between the system and then like, hey, here's a thing you can play in. But that's an interesting like kind of shift on the campaign itself. I would have loved to see something in between that maybe did a little bit of system, and then maybe, hey, here's a setting we're including in that. But I do think it's a really cool setup. The Buddha Warrior, they've got a bunch of different kind of class and character types. They've got some adaptations. I would be wondering, given some of the themes that they're pulling from, if they did any sort of sensitivity readings or other things like that, if they had any sort of cultural consultants or anybody else on the project, which is I'm going to scroll down and look for. Art looks very cool. Lots of blended styles, which I love, especially given the kind of genreless play. We've got some good endorsements here across from some good folks. What'll be added to the early edition. You can get your PC in the game as one of the levels and rewards. Some Kickstarter add-ons. Nothing specifically about how they did cultural connotation consulting, but again, it depends on how they're approaching it. I do think it's something that if you're going to write in a genre that is associated with a set grouping or group of cultures, that you should bring in somebody from that culture to look at some of what you're doing. It could be on here somewhere. I'll go back through and look a little bit more closely at it. But something I would have loved to have seen information about if it's there, or specifically how they're making sure that this is a game system that's accessible and friendly to everybody. So here we got the game system. It's built on the Triforge engine, the same as Carbine Jungle, an exciting action-filled experience with customizable rule sets and incredibly flexible advancement. When the Triforge engine, you can customize the rules to fit your table, use a simplified rule set of flip and fight to introduce it to new players, all without slowing down your game. It's designed to be a standalone game, but can work with the Carbine Jungle as a fuller set also, too. You don't have to have it. It is fully standalone. It's a cool game. I don't know if this would be a game that is for me. Not for any other reason. Like, I don't feel like it's something that I would get to the table a whole lot, but I do think it's a very, very cool system. And if you are into anime style play, and actually for my second oldest child, this would be a system I would be really interested in checking out. Also, they're constantly, creating characters that draw a lot from different anime and manga sources that they love, unique creatures, and are looking to do world building and system building in and around that. So I might pick this up for them, because it definitely strikes me as something that they would really enjoy picking through and looking at, if nothing else. But really cool system. Please feel free to check it out. What is that? Oh, this is their early edition. Not a lot of art. Blame these people. Love it at the top. Table of contents. But yeah, 180 pages. That's a huge early access, free to look at. And this looks a lot like this cover to Slayers. I can't see it back there. Looks a lot like the cover to Slayers. But yeah, it's very, very, very cool looking project. A lot of flexibility. I want to go check out their earlier stuff in the Carbine system and see what's going on there. All right, we've got to finish up quickly. We're going to go quickly through these last two, because we've got a couple of special guests joining us in just a moment. We're going to talk about one specific project a little bit more in depth at the end today. So stick around for that if you have time. It's an anti-fascist RPG project that just launched today. We're going to have a couple of the creators and editors hop on to chat a little bit more about that, and I hope y'all can join us for it. We'll take a quick little break while we get them on stream. But here's We Die Young RPG Supernatural Role-Playing in the 1990s. A spiritual sequel to Dark Places and Demogorgon, set in Seattle in the beginning of the grunge counterculture movement. We Die Young. It's a bloat game project. Love bloat games. Also, Eric just gets projects out super quick. I backed a project of his in January. It's already in my hot little hands. It has been for a couple months now. Really amazing production turnaround. Does a really good job of just rotating through projects, and they all turn out really well. We've got a couple of different things in here. But I'm super excited to see some of the different pieces from this. Survive This is a tabletop RPG system that's D20 and OSR influenced. You will find a standard array of mechanics like attributes, saving throws, classes, races, levels, hit points. It's a very trad game. Most situations are decided by D20 plus modifier to beat a target number, so you know how to play. So it's a lot of setting work, right? So it's a little bit thicker book than a lot of times the stuff that I've seen from Bloat on some of the other projects that I've backed, though I'm by no means an expert on their stuff. They've got a pandemic relief. This is an interesting thing that started to slip through on Kickstarter. People doing a little bit of charity work. I'm totally fine with. I think Kickstarter should be way more lax about, as long as it doesn't become a fundraising platform. If people want to say they're giving money to other people, I think that Kickstarter should be permissive of that. POD primarily, a couple different options for how you can back. No stretch goals. We've seen this a lot with projects over the last little bit. A lot of people love it. A lot of people don't like it. Would love to know from you. Do you prefer projects that have lots of stretch goals, or just, hey, like no stretch goals, just let me get the project and then we're going to go. Cool little music inspiration list here. Some cool stuff. All right, two more projects. The Bleakness. It's funded, an indie horror RPG about traveling into the north on this ancient road, venture into the bleakness. The frozen ground rises up to meet the snow-scarred sky at a point indiscernible, the monotone broken only by pitch masses of secretive trees. This is the path you choose, traveler. Enter the Bleakness. The Bleakness offers a unique, immersive horror experience. Players assume the role of pilgrims struggling to survive on an ancient road fraught with danger and mysteries. The Bleakness is a system, campaign setting, and detailed adventure arc bound in one text. Gritty survival mechanics and the threat of the unknown create a high-tension game like no other. How a game seeks to create horror and tension in what it does is so interesting when something falls in the horror genre. Would love to know a little bit more about how they're doing that. The road cuts a scalpel scrawl across the howling wilds, pointing straight and true to the frozen north, hard earth cemented by thousands of plodding feet over slow centuries. Upon the road, travelers meet trials and tribulations, challenges that separate the weak from the blessed strong. Streamlined resource management into situations to create a uniquely atmospheric and deadly horror experience. And we're going to go ahead and set our guests up now. I'm going to let in one of our guests. We're going to take a little 5-minute break. I may talk about one more project when I come back. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about a project that's live right now that you can go check out called Postcards from Cable Street. We're going to talk about this project. It's an RPG against fascism. I need to take a 5-minute break to reset for that, but we're going to come back and talk with Luke Gearing and Jarrett Crader specifically about this project and what went into it. I read through it earlier today. It's phenomenal. I'm gonna put everything on mute, pop up a graphic.
Oh, hi, Tony. Long time no see.
How we doing?
Have you met Luke before? Oh.
I what's the gate crash the Troika thing.
Uh-huh. Virtual parties.
Yeah.
It's fun. I was actually napping for that one. Not being rude, I took a weird funky nap that Monday afternoon. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I had that whole hour or two window
All right, and we are back live after that weird little break. This is going to be like the weirdest backer quest ever. There's only been 5 of them, so that's not a high bar. But we were talking last week. Jarrett had sent me this link to a project I've been excited to check out, have been following, and that is the Postcards from Cable Street project, and it went live today, depending on where you live in the world. And why does it say Luke Crane? Does it really say Luke Crane? Are you kidding me? If so, we're just gonna pop that off.
Yeah, no, it's not Crane.
Shit. All right. Well, hold on real quick. Delete. We're gonna remove that. All right. I'm just gonna pop us up here with no overlay. Here we go. Transition. I don't know. That was probably my fault, but I can't imagine that I made that mistake. All right. You're right. It's not Luke Crane. Like I said, weirdest stream ever. All right. No overlay. Everybody can just see how many weird tabs I have open at the top of the screen. You thought it was a joke in the channel earlier. Yeah, no, it's not a joke. Oh, shit. Weird stuff. No, yeah, Luke Crane would not be on my channel for any number of reasons. Here we go. We are talking about Cable Street. So Luke, give everybody Luke Gearing. Give everybody the elevator pitch of Postcards from Cable Street.
So it's kind of a grab bag of stuff that people have donated. It's laid out in a kind of cool, cohesive style. And the basic deal is nobody's making any money off this. Any kind of proceeds we raise after everyone's kind of, covered costs, it's going towards 2 kind of charities, anti-fascist charities in the UK. So we've got Hope Not Hate, which works to kind of basically de-radicalize people. And we've got Football Lads and Lasses Against Fascism in Football, FLAF, Football Lads and Lasses Against Fascism, because, it's a fun sport. People should enjoy it, and there's no room for fascists in all of our hobbies, whether they're sports or rolling dice with your friends.
Love it. And what, like I was going through it this morning, and I didn't look at the page count before I started, and I just started reading it, and then like halfway through was like, oh, I'm probably almost done, and I wasn't. Like, it is a zine, but it is not a small project in any way, shape, or form. What did the page count ended up being on this thing?
I think it was 78.
78?
Yeah, 70 something. Yeah.
72, 78. I count covers because I'm that guy that counts covers.
No, that's awesome. And what were each of you guys like? I know there a number of people worked on this project. It's live right now. You can get it a couple different places. But I'm also vamping right now while I try to rearrange things from horribly misnaming you as a different Luke real quick. What are some of the places people are going to be able to find this? And what was each of your roles on this project?
So you can find it sort of UK, rest of world. We're shipping out from the Soul Muppet store. And then we've got US will be dealt with by Exalted Funeral. So at the moment, it's not there yet. So what we're doing is if you go onto the Exalted Funeral site, find Postcards from Cable Street, you can ask to be put on a mailing list. So you'll get an email once it becomes available. And then you can buy a copy, is how that's working.
Awesome. And Jarrett, you were the editor on this project, correct?
Oh, I was one of the volunteer editors. We had like 40 people total. I'd have to count them all up, and I don't want to count right now. So this was, inspired by what we did with Dissident Whispers last summer, and then Luke made the mistake of posting up on Twitter something about doing this stuff for specifically things happening in England, and of course, if you say something and one of us hears it, usually me or Silver Goat, we're gonna make sure you do it. We're gonna be like, do it. But it very quickly we grabbed a bunch of folks who'd be with on Dissident and a bunch of other folks. Yeah, smashed it out. It took so Dissident, the legendarily, was done in 12 days, and then of course a couple of months of like shaking all the rest of the stuff out. This one took longer because we had a more open window, and we had learned a bunch of the get everybody together feels from doing Dissident. We had less people, so we had more time we could work with people overall, but an amazing slew of artists and writers and designers and editors and layout. And I even laid out a couple of pieces. Then the ones that aren't credited, those are the ones I did. No, my graphic design peeps and actual layout peeps, they know their shit, and they were nice enough to build us some templates and stuff like that. And I kind of did a hacker's job on a couple things, mostly just to kind of help things get a little bit further along.
You also wrote something, which I think is a first.
I co-wrote something. Yeah,
you did. Yeah. Let's talk about a couple of the projects while I check to make sure that the link I'm about to drop doesn't credit Luke Crane for anything. Oh man, so much fun. Tell me about the parts of the project that each of you worked on. Like, I mean, you mentioned some of the editing pieces, but the gameable content specifically. So Jarrett, you wrote something, or co-wrote something. What did you write?
So with my friend Mark Bullark Conway and we wrote it was 36 backgrounds, but ended up, because of the fantastic job that Christian did with the layout, and we didn't want to like smush it in there. Mark and I wrote 18 troika backgrounds based off of Guided by Voices album titles and song titles and characters from songs. If people don't know GBV, they're an old man band from Dayton, Ohio, and I say old man because they didn't really hit their stride and start touring until they were in their 40s. I've seen them play like 27, 28 times. I have a tattoo of their symbol on my arm. I love the shit out of them. Anyway, it's a lot of weird metaphysical, esoteric glossolalia. It's he who is Guided by Voices, Bob Pollard, comes up with a lot of really cool stuff. And so Mark and I both love GBV, and so we took and made a bunch of troika backgrounds. And then Aled did really fantastic art. It's over he sent me that, and it's all over there on the wall. And then, like I said, I did some layout and some edits and stuff here and there, a little development help. Your turn, Luke.
So I wrote something called the Valley, which is kind of doesn't have a system associated with it. So that's one thing that we both kind of liked. Why a lot of different systems supported, and a lot of it's also kind of system neutral or just a standalone. So there's something there for anyone. But anyway, the thing I wrote is kind of a weird scenario where you presumably play as some people who live in this valley, and some people come who are seemingly come from some sort of like warlike conqueror types. And the big deal here is you can't kill the scouts, because if you kill the scouts, they're going to try and get revenge. So you have to try and foil their plans to like sow discord in the community. Because one of the things we wanted to have was like, if people wanted to try and do something that had anti-fascism as a theme, go for it. So I kind of took that in a weird way and took it more as a kind of trying to bring the community together, both by like healing any existing rifts, but also ensuring that outsiders can't, create new ones. But also some stuff's just like, there's just, a big bad monster in a dungeon. Like there's it's got a pretty good breadth of tone, I think, throughout the project.
Yeah. One of my favorite projects on there was Word Wars, where you are trying to basically you're the anti-fascist. Some people play the anti-fascist forces. Other people play different Whereas then you're trying to basically legislate what language can and cannot be used and take people out of the other players' like depth of language that they can use. And there's some concepts in there. I love wordplay stuff, and I love a lot of the concepts that went into a lot of the different pieces, but it was one of the most fun and unique concepts I've seen on actual wordplay and manipulation as a way of attacking other people, which is such a part of the way that fascist movements will try to like instill themselves into parts of the population, and something that people have to learn how to push back against certain types of language. There's just some really amazing different projects here. Yeah. And you guys mentioned a ton of different hands touch this project. Like you said, around 40 people. Yeah, it's crazy. So how was herding all of those different creators into this project? Was it something that came together like, you know, Dissident Whispers, you talked about, like, it's that 12-day run up, you know, and then all the time it takes to get something to print, to press, deal with the fact that the glue on the binding doesn't work at all or whatever, halfway along the way. And then getting it out to people. It's absolutely gorgeous sitting right there. You know, and then we've got this project, which is 40 people and having a little bit more time to kind of pull stuff together. What is it like to kind of manage that large of a group of people or work with that large of a group of people?
It's a lot. It's a lot. But that said, we had the kind of, because we had the longer time frame and we had a slightly different workflow, so we kind of had more of a defined pipeline. So it's like, you know, you do this part and then you get assigned an editor, and we had kind of one person in charge of editing, one person in charge of kind of layout, one person in charge of doing the art stuff, which helped a lot. It did mean that things were a bit slower, but it also meant that we had a kind of repeatable process that everyone was running through, which made it a lot easier. That said, obviously, when you've got 40 different people, it's hard, but we managed to use a lot of the experience from Dissonant Whispers to kind of have, oh, here's the type of spreadsheets you'll need. And even, I mean, it sounds silly, like obviously you need a spreadsheet of everyone's name, but it's like, we have that. Here's how you set up the Trello board to be the most effective possible, which was a massive lifesaver in kind of seeing exactly where everyone is, doing like a sort of Kanban thing or whatever, where it's like moving across these different pillars. Yeah, like it's one of those ones that will definitely look to feed into anyone who wants to talk about here's how you organize this stuff, because we've been there and we've done it, and our pain shouldn't be repeated every single time necessarily. It's a process we can all learn.
Yeah. Well, I think that's my next question. What are some of the lessons each of you would say, like, hey, then first question, are you guys planning on doing another issue of this? Is this a one and done project or something y'all hope to continue to do more projects like this in the future?
Lou's not going to say anything because I'm going to beat him to it. So on the with working on Dissident last year and working on this on Cable Street now, as far as I'm concerned, like, I have the skills. I'm taking a tiny little bit of time, but that being said, like, the world's not stopping. Shit's not, you know, small victories here and there, but the world is not going to stop just because of a couple of things. So there will be, I don't know if it'll be Postcards on Cable Street 2. Not sure what's what, but definitely I know that my hand will some way be involved with organized and doing some other thing to benefit charitable organizations sooner than I would. Yeah, like what I said, Luke, what are we gonna do? Let's take like a couple of months, and then like 2 weeks later, I was like, hey, what about this idea? And he was like, remember what you said? And I was like, I know. but again, it's because like we have to. We can do it, so there's no reason for us not to do it. Obviously, we got to take care of ourselves and stuff like that, but I think two big go rounds, it feels pretty good for me at least. And I mean, this is what I'm projects manager for place, so I'm constantly like leading teams and stuff, but I definitely want it to be a regular thing, not just coming from me or people that I'm working with. The tools, like Luke said, with what we've done with both projects, using the Trello board, using Google Docs and whatnot, for the sharing, the organization, breaking people into teams, having people be okay with having team leaders and stuff like that. Like 40 people is a lot, and it's a lot of friends and different camps and people you might not know. You know what I'm saying? We're working primarily in a typing text environment, so you got to make sure that people are reading what people are typing in good faith and things like that. Trying to all stay up on that so we can get this thing out the door so that we can raise money for people. So yes, long way around your question is yes, we will at some point. Sooner than we know.
Yeah, I love it. And second question was, and you both have already covered it. What are some lessons you would take into the next time doing this? You mentioned the Trello board, you mentioned team leaders, you mentioned making sure people are. I think it's a small one, but it's a huge one. Making sure people are reading things in good faith, especially when you're being critical, especially when you're giving feedback on something that people are going to have strong feelings about. Because it's important work for all of you. I think those are excellent. Any other major things as you're looking at? And I think the other one you mentioned that I would pull out, taking care of yourself. I've told people before, like if somebody ever is scheduled for a stream with me and like 5 minutes before they're like, I can't, like I'm just wiped or I'm just whatever, then we won't do the stream that day. And it's not a big deal because people are more important than getting the stream out, hitting it's not permission to just forever flake on people, but like people are more important than projects. What are some other things that that y'all might be able to pass along to people who are looking at projects like this, or even just their own project?
So a consistent thing we saw on this and with Distant Whispers is for a lot of people, this will be their first time putting something out there. So you got to be patient, but you got to be like kind of very. You got to explain why you're doing things the way you're doing things, so they don't feel like you've come in and just like gutted their stuff the first time you edit it. It's like, whoa, you hate my work. It's like, no, it's great, and that's why I'm giving it this treatment to make it even better. And I think kind of giving people that awareness of like, we know what we're doing. At first, it won't make sense, but we'll be explaining the process to you as it goes. There's reasons we're doing things, and you kind of have to trust us. That is a big one, I think. Understanding that there's going to be a mixed level of experience, and that people who are new to it, they're going to need some extra time, and that's okay. Like, because often they'll come up with stuff that's really cool because they've got no preconceived notions.
Yeah, awesome. Jarrett, anything from you on that?
Just note to Jarrett, hey, just give yourself like 3-month lead time next time, Jarrett. Oh, no, I mean, but it just goes for everyone. Like, if you are planning on doing one of these and helping organize the organizers and be an integral part of it, have as much down on paper as you can. And like I think we definitely we learned from what we did with Dissident, and we did it for cable, and now I think the next time we go about it, it'll definitely be a longer lead time as far as like all of the planning of the entire thing, from conception, visual design, all the way through to print, publishing, and sales and stuff like that. So it's much like any other project. It's just when it's for charitable organization, you kind of want to get it done as quickly as possible and with as much profits going to that organization. So the more the five P's: proper planning and preparedness lead to positive performance.
I like how you flexed that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And let's talk about those charities. So like people may not be familiar. Like this is an Anavesh's thing, and its conceit and the way it's executed. There's essays in there. There's a playlist in there. There's tons of gameable content as well as fully contained games, all with anti-fascist themes. But there are these partnering organizations that this was built around, helping financially support also too. Tell us a little bit about some of those orgs.
So Hope Not Hate, their big thing is they've got a lot of people who have been involved in, hate groups effectively, and it's very much about, like, rather than trying to deal with the ramification necessarily by cutting it out at the ground floor, by dealing with the people, because that's what these organizations are unfortunately made up of, right? They're made up of people, but by trying to teach these people that no, you can leave these groups, because it's often vulnerable people who are involved in these groups. You can show them there's a better way to kind of deal with their own their own shit, basically, rather than projecting that outwards. You can fix yourself, as well as doing help and outreach for the people who are victims of this stuff as well. Like, it's kind of a very full spectrum approach, even if their ultimate kind of goal is very much the perpetrators and trying to resolve that. Yeah.
Awesome. Benjamin Wenham in the chat really says loved working on Dissident Whispers. We'll definitely be back for future stuff. Comments that everyday anti-fascism really involves a lot of diversity of tactics. So it's really nice to see Luke doing stuff, something that reflects that. Luke and the entire team. I mean, like, that's the thing. Like, it's a huge project. I want to know, so Postcards from Cable Street, what is the significance of the title?
So Cable Street is a very famous British anti-fascist action, named after the street it occurred on, where I believe, if I'm not mistaken, let me just make sure I check my history, is right here. Yes, so the British Union of Fascists were doing a march, and a large, kind of very diverse group of people. So we've got, like, trade unionists, communists, anarchists, a lot of people from the Jewish Quarter, Irish Dockers, some of the socialist groups came together and said, like, no, you're not doing this. Originally started off as a counter march, turned into basically a punch up, the Battle of Cable Street, and I would say it worked. The British Union Fascists notably did side, the police kind of sided with them, which was a whole thing as well. But yeah, it's kind of one of the most famous British anti-fascist actions, and some people say it's kind of the reason the British Union of Fascists never really got as far as they should have done, on paper, as it were. And we're like, yeah, let's carry that spirit forwards. It's the postcards from there,
I love it. Like I said, I read through it earlier today, was constantly blown away by everything, and scrolled through it earlier, but just taking in all the different content, all the different pieces. Fiona's Powered by the Anti-Fascist game is phenomenal. Like, every piece was just kind of a delight to go through, and I loved reading through just some of the essays, the narrative about people's anti-fascist experiences also. It really struck me, like, I remember making an offhand comment about censorship at one point when I was in, like, 9th grade, and saying, like, yeah, no, if somebody really tried to censor me, to take materials away from me, like I would just take it back. And somebody was like, well, what if they didn't let you? I was like, I would hit them and I would take it back. Like, I don't know what to tell you, other than, yeah, like, it's, I mean, and they were like, oh my gosh, no, it's just because you're, like, a big guy. And I'm like, no, like, because there are certain wrongs that need to be fought against. And there's a choice sometimes in that to say, like, you either have to decide to make the hits or take the hits. And sometimes both. And that should never be forced on the disenfranchised or the marginalized as a choice. Like, it's something that everybody needs to be standing up for and deciding, like, look, when there's an egregious mentality that's infected your community, you need to do what you need to do to root it out. And that's not a glorification of violence, but a statement of the sad reality that sometimes it's an essential part of how you make a message clear. And the way that was woven through as a conversation in the book, paralleled with gaming, paralleled with geekdom, paralleled with the anti-fascist movement, is a really seamless merger of a lot of different complex themes that I deeply appreciated. So kudos to y'all on being able to bring all of those things together in, 70 something pages of really phenomenal content that's absolutely beautifully laid out. Is there anything specific y'all want to make sure people know about the project that may be a small thing, a behind the scenes thing, a personal piece that just made you really, really excited about it, you just think people may miss if it's not said by somebody?
I'm just going to read everybody's first name who contributed.
And double check their last name when sharing it.
We'll see. There you go, Tony. I'll let Luke go first. Oh, I did want to say that my favorite my favorite piece is Sigma's Canned Laughter Hell. Sigma Castell did a fantastic job on that. Anxiety Wizard did layout on it. If you like Mothership, it's nice one just to have in your pocket. I'm interested in seeing how the folks on the Mothership Discord take it when they get a hold of it, because I could see some of the tables, some of the ways some people run. I can just see like some folks just being like, "Yes, this is perfect." So, mad props.
Awesome. Luke, how about you?
Yeah, I was gonna say, speaking of Mothership, my favorite one, I think, certainly at the moment, because it changes every time I open the PDF, the Constitution of Moon 895316902. Got to open, I didn't memorize that. But it's a fantastic piece because it's pushing what you can do with games content. Like, not only has it got a sick theme that ties in nicely, it's simultaneously something you can hand to your players. It's a short story. It's a plot hook. It's just something to put in the background of your game. Like, it's got so many different uses depending what you want to do with it and depending which parts resonate with you. I'm just blown away by it. Like, fantastic work.
Yeah, awesome. And here's the thing: like, if somebody's like watching this right now and they're like, "I don't play indie RPGs. I don't play Mothership. I don't play Troika. I only play the world's most popular RPG." There's even content in this for that game.
There is,
yes. Which, you know, bringing everyone together around the table to fight fascism. Like I said, phenomenal project. I'd really encourage people to check it out. Links in the video down below on YouTube, and this will certainly be clipped to try to recover the very beginning of the video a little bit later also. But I was so thrilled to look at it. Can't wait. I'll be getting mine from Exalted, which should be up in the next couple of days for that. Or if you're in Europe, you're the UK right now, you can go grab it on Soul Muppets page. Both are linked down below, I think. If not, I'll make sure that they both are later. But with that said, Luke, if people want to find your work, where's the best place for them to come find it?
Twitter, just at Luke Gearing. That's everything's there, basically.
There you go. And Jarrett, if people want to try to track you down in the wilds of the internet, is the Melsonian Discord the best place to get in touch with you?
That'll work. I'll be there.
Just shout into the void on the night of a full moon, and Jarrett may or may not appear D66 days later. And so thanks you both for coming on. Thanks you all for sharing this project. Thanks for the work you did, as well as for the entire team coming on to represent. I know there were a ton of people who did it. We were talking about who's going to come on it. It really came down to who's going to be willing to be on a camera. And so I'm just so glad that y'all did this work and to see more coming out from this in the future. We're Plus One EXP. We're a weird little brand that multi-classes in tabletop game design, beard, and skincare alchemy. Every other week, we sit down and we look at some of the best great games that are coming out right now on Kickstarter, on itch, in web stores. And so since we were doing it today, and since this great, unique project was launching today, I wanted to have Jarrett and Luke on to talk a little bit more about the project specifically, and was so glad that they were able to make that happen. And so if you are able to go support this project, please do, because the more people are able to support it, the more likely it is for future projects to happen, but also the more money that we're going to raise in order to fight fascism and support great organizations that are doing phenomenal work, which is something that we are committed to here at Plus One EXP also. So until next time, my name is Tony Vicinda. You can find us at Plus One EXP, and this has been Backer Quest.